Welcome everyone to a fine Linux live stream here about release management. We did it, yay! Finally, we released T2 SDE 20.10, long decade in the making actually, and it would of course be too boring to just read the release announcement that we already tried to see to a couple of places on the internet. After a decade, so Linux, T2 Linux, and then we also talk after just some PR news stuff here about what it takes, why it took so long, why it takes or what it takes to release stuff, because imagine you release your amazing stuff and nobody knows about this too. So T2 Linux 20.10 from ARM, PowerPC 64, LE, Little Onion, RISC-V and more. After a decade of development, we are proud to announce the availability of the new T2 Linux source and embedded Linux distribution build kit stable release 20.10. 20.10 release received updates across the board with a major working target being new architecture support for ARM64 and RISC-V, as well as further improving cross-compilation, and also official ISO images are now fully cross-built. Over a whopping 13,800 source control revisions indicate the magnitude of the release, with over 1,000 new packages, new features and various other improvements as seen here in previous videos live on this and the More Live channel. Fixes and stuff including the latest Linux kernel, GCC, LLVM, Clang also forgot to bold this, but you get the idea. Rust, Xorg, why are here two asterisks? I don't know. Anyway, Wayland, Firefox, Wayland, live here from this desktop, KDE GNOME, well, mostly working, somewhat of this, whatever. Everything in between, aside the usual support for the latest and greatest Epic, Threadripping, x86, Silicon with enthusiasm. We also maintain support for vintage hardware, also as seen here live on this channel, including, but not limited to, the Sony PS3, recurring fan base here, SG Octane, Sun Ultra, Spark and various other such systems. For more information, as usual, visit our website here at https or whatever t2sde.org. And so obviously a decade is late. Those recurring viewers here of this channel of course know I had money to earn and was also a bit using Mac OS on my desktop. So of course there was not a stop gap of maintaining T2, quite the contrary. However, I said it before, I mostly maintain the server stuff or toolchain of GCC, glibc, all the surrounding stuff, and the Linux kernel, and as used in embedded and virtual machine setups, server and stuff, and only with Snowden papers. I said this before, how did, first of all, hashtag peak bugs there on the Apple Mac OS side, but also certainly stuff like recurring vulnerabilities and secret services and stuff, hacking stuff left and right, and security backdoors and encryption hiccups there. But last but not least, also App Store and other peak bugs and lessons still are, and certainly free and open source. So this is why also just for the YouTube stuff of, hey, I have a PS3 and an SG Octane in the basement, let's maybe switch this on after a decade and see what we can get working. I also wanted to say some words about release stuff, because people always say, can you just fix me this or package that, as seen in all the live videos. Usually it's like, let's quickly do something, and then 1 hour or 2 later or whole afternoon, like quickly update KDE or GNOME, like 6 and 7 hours live marathon sprints here on this channel, and recurring theme here in the future. But also just the release management, right? You have seen this with all the videos. I wanted to release T2 20.6 or so in the summer, but there's always one more thing, right? Just like with Steve Jobs, always like you build everything from ARM, also new stuff of PinePhone, ARM64, previous videos, and RISC-V on the FPGA, which I think I just put away, but here, FPGA ULX3S Linux on RISC-V 32. And so yeah, you do something and then like update Xorg and segmentation faults, update the Linux kernel, something doesn't boot anymore, like the PS3 and so on. So yeah, there's always one more thing, also new features. We did so much the last year. So this release 2010, vastly supported by you watching this video here live on this channel, with all the stuff done in the not only open and open source, but open live here on this channel, and of course the Patreons. Amazing stuff. And also, what does it take? So not only it always needs to work, also when I finally started to see the first ISOs, there were new issues like with some improvements, yeah, just like improving one more thing, and then I broke some inrd stuff. So some details I fixed, like avoiding some warnings with libnss and libgcc_s for crypt setup in the installer. I actually wasn't really testing this, also testing, more testing, a recurring theme on this channel. But yeah, you do one more little thing and then your previous work is also regressing. But also all the stuff just the bare minimum, right? So basically you see on this channel not only running either more than a small, like medium-sized or big open source projects. Not only is this a full-time job, probably as proven by this YouTube videos, but even the PR side, right? Why is T2 not more known? And probably with being at the right time, with the right people and stuff, it probably would be as popular as Gen 2, or maybe even more popular. However, PR, not only testing, more testing, but also PR and more PR. And if you have some people who every day roll the PR drum roll there, then yeah, because how long does it take? So yesterday I just did a little bit of polishing on the website. It's also, yeah, not even live here on this channel because it would be too boring, but as you see, I updated at least the graphic here, did some other small thing. I also tried with CSS and the menu stuff, so the next week or two we will have here more modern menu. Someone volunteered to, hey, I can make this website new, but the problem is, which is also amazing, thanks for that. However, in my opinion, one mistake some people often make is recreating the whole thing. I just simply have no time running a database. So this is the website, keep it stupid simple, static HTML website technology from 1998, because I have no time and security measures to run a database driven dynamic whatsoever stuff. So case in point, you can run a major website with static HTML, and even if as good as the intention were of, hey, I make you a new website with database and whatnot, it's like I need someone to maintain this, and nobody will maintain this in the long run, and I don't want to run whatever dynamic code, PHP, Python, Ruby for security reasons and database and stuff. So this stuff works, and in my opinion, do not always recreate all the stuff, like do gradual stuff, like this beautifully static HTML and CSS stuff, like just apply some modern CSS magic and move some stuff around, and it's amazing. So the graphic there was a decade-old graphic that was ugly. So yesterday I quickly YOLO'd here some hopefully nicer looking graphic and touched up here a couple of things. Of course, there is plenty of more work to do, but just then the release stuff, right? I spent, I should have done other things today, like running my business, but just the release stuff, right? You can easily spend, as seen here on this channel, just hammering out PR stuff I did the bare minimum, and that took like half my business day, which I probably should not tell my commercial customers. But so you need to come up with some text here. You need to collect some data, do some creative stuff of writing here some stuff up. I had here some old scripts, so I gathered here some automatic data, and then usually if you are in your work flow and do this every month, then it's easier. But restarting this all from scratch, I have a good archive of emails that goes even probably back 20 years, of 2 decades of emails, but some are not everything. So some of my sent archive is only from 2011, I think, and the last T2 release is from 2010. So my old email template, of course, I could find some stuff from the interwebs, like LWN stuff, and thankfully previously some websites published some stuff. But this is also the issue, right? You spend half a day or a week on PR stuff and nobody cares about this. But yeah, so this is how much, so it's just the bare minimum, right? You think just write some lines, no. So even just if you write down something, it's 30 minutes, right? If you polish it a little more, think about this. Also, you need to recollect some email addresses of news at some major websites and stuff. Even just the minimum there, 30 minutes there, 30 minutes there. At the end, 2 hours are gone, 3 hours, 4 hours, you find a typo there, polish some graphic, and so on. And then also super time consuming, the new websites like Slashdot. So let's see what happens, because Slashdot does not want email. They have here a submit form. So I filled it out. Let's see if we get to Slashdot. But this is also, yeah, you invest time of, hey, maybe we get on Slashdot, maybe once upon a time. But yeah, you need to try, you need to, and this is also super time consuming. I really love email. I'm not the greatest fan of web forms, because what is the problem with web forms, right? I need to go to Slashdot, submit a story. I need to copy and paste the URL, also not there, but Reddit. Need to go to Reddit, which I actually had open, so this Reddit stuff, and then you publish it there. The problem is email, you can blind carbon copy 40 people or 200 and off it goes. With this bloody web forms, it's super time consuming. You need to go to each bloody freaking website, sometimes even register and log in and stuff, and fill out the stuff. So yeah, it's on Reddit. You can upvote it if you want to contribute into me a favor. That would be amazing. You can paste it there. But yeah, this is just a summary of, yeah, even not only some tiny packagings there, some PS3 testing there, firing up the SG Octane there, 1 hour, 2 hour, an afternoon, a week, a month, a year, or a whole freaking decade for a whopping 13,800 subversion revisions, and plenty of infrastructure work. You have seen it here before, or if you're new to this channel, Clang, CLang, Clang-based GNU, glibc-less systems, PowerPC, Spark, RISC-V, everything in between. Probably not aggregating, but T2 could actually be the distribution supporting most architectures. Sure, there is Debian, there is Gentoo, but due to the solid cross-compile foundation and just cross-compiling everything here on an epic thread-ripping, latest and greatest silicon, and as seen here, the previous videos, even on macOS and other systems coming soon. Probably, I hope, an impressive achievement of scripting and automating this, and certainly 13,000 revisions, also 400 already done with previous videos. Our new data bot of checking websites, pulling in the new versions and test building them and auto-committing them. Anyway, so that is just a summary of, yeah, why is there not an ISO? It's always, yeah, building this stuff, testing this stuff. There's always one more thing, and then spreading the freaking word. If you want, you can help with this. Also, I've not yet published all of those ISOs. Some of them are, hey, 0-drop frames, or only 3 Mbit. Some of them are still building here, or actually most of them. I don't expect too big of a surprise. The only problem, I accept this bloody thing. But so yeah, as you see here live on this epic thread-ripping AMD Ryzen, most of the ISO still building. I just wanted to spread the word already, because most new sites don't care about PowerPC and Spark anyway, and I finally wanted to have this off and a little bit more published and website and stuff and people testing. Anyway, I wanted to share just this overview of how much the stuff, so basically running, and imagine people always tell me, find a niche. That's my previous videos, if you're new to this channel, there are probably soon 1,000 videos, 600-700 or so, I think, in the meantime, of some vlogs of coding every day. And yeah, the thing is open source, how to earn money. Of course, the big failing point here of the T2 thing, but people always say, just, yeah, do other services, like, yeah, first do the work, 8 hours a day, do the work of open source stuff, and then on top of the 8 hours, do your PR, your bookkeeping, and your additional services and niche project and whatnot you should find. It's like, yeah, no, it doesn't scale like this. Because yeah, as you see, just running even a a small, medium-sized project is like, yeah, it's a full-time job, in case you have not noticed, which obviously recurring theme. 20 years in the making and a decade since the last release. As I said before, so the next release will not take a decade. We are in a much better position now. Much more cross-compilation, much faster hardware. I said it, recurring joke here of epic thread ripping, latest silicon. So my plan is, also the next releases, so the plan, we will try to spin ISO binary releases on a quarterly basis. So this will be 20, like, 2010. So this will be 21.1, 21.6, 21.10 or whatever next year. And also in the future, this year and on the live here on this channel, I tested this stuff usually more because everything was so new. New support for booting on PS3, new support for booting on an SG Octane. By the way, fun fact, this ISO we will release will probably the first and only ever fully bootable and installable ISO for an SG Octane. Just for the fun fact, I will make a dedicated video. There was only one proof of concept boot ISO that wasn't really usable nor installable from 15 years ago from someone else. So this will be the first fully functional SG Octane installable ISO ever. Yeah, binary releases. So, and due to that, everything new, like new ARC boot integration, new PS3 enablement, new Sun Spark fixes, and transition to grub2 in general, and full disk encryption, all the previous videos, and set standard compressed init.rd, as well as T2 only and T2 first, and set standard compressed firmware for smaller init.rd memory use on the PS3, for example. A feature set standard compressed firmware only in T2, not to mention all the fixes that usually, like GCC, previous video, patching GCC to work with G5 and cell optimization. So much more to come. This was only the beginning. You see 6,363 subscribers by today, which is amazing. And so yeah, welcome to 2021. Can't come fast enough. So much more to do, so much more thrilling technological stuff. Not only our microkernel, but maintaining and testing all this stuff. And the next ISOs, I don't plan to test as much because now this is mostly tested. PS3, SG Octane and Sun Spark and stuff. There will be some stuff, of course. We will likely transition Spark also to grub2 just to get rid of old Zilo bootloaders and having the same configuration and code base in general. But aside from this, my plan is the quarterly ISO images, not to test all of them, test them a little bit in QEMU maybe, but leave it to the community. We built them, and if we know that we didn't broke something majorly, then just build and publish and let the community do the testing, just like at #PeakBugs, Apple's macOS or Windows and Google Chrome, where it's like, yeah, the user can test it. This is a little bit of the plan, because just taking an SG Octane and PS3, plugging everything in, right, maybe burning an optical media and stuff, easily 30, if not 60 minutes gone, that I will not continue to always have. Which, anyway, I hope we don't break too much stuff, and if some upstream stuff like Linux kernel breaks the PS3 again, then the community will find out and hopefully provide a patch. Anyway, this is just a summary, also just some impression of how much work it is. As I said, even the administrative infrastructure of pushing some news out. And if you want to help, by the way, you can copy CC and send it to your favorite news outlet. This is, as usual, all the help the community can provide. But that's basically it. A little bit of announcement and behind the scenes here of extra surrounding stuff. Let's take a quick look at the comments now. Hey there, thinking with tinkering with T2 and QEMU, wanted something that can boot fast and still have glibc. That's amazing. I hope you enjoyed this. A lot of people like it, even if you were thinking, and certainly with Rock Linux and stuff. This is also generations, right? At the end of the 90s or beginning of the 2000s, Rock Linux at the time, the base of T2 was way more popular. but at that time there were only 50 Linux distributions and not 1076 Linux distributions. So 15 years ago that was more popular, but people moved also on, right? At Rock Linux we were easily 30, 40 or maybe even 50 people of developers or contributors, not all developers, but PR contributing people, text contributing people, website and testing, like just Linux fans of running this at home. And they also leave, right? Like, hey, we run a forum, and then a year later they leave, they move on. Like, yeah, there is not much money in open source as here seen on this channel. So at Rock Linux, a lot of, like, in the meantime, like obviously 99% of the previous Rock Linux people are all gone off into the world of moving on with life, next endeavors, a professional job, working at Microsoft, working at Apple, working at Oracle and all the fun stuff. And so much, yeah. So this is if there are not like people on a recurrent basis of weekly, monthly, yearly, and for decades putting work in and keeping everything working and up to date and modernizing the stuff, then yeah, products disappear, bit rot and vaporware. Anyway, because previously I even forgot just today Googling for your own stuff. It's like, hey, we were even on Linux Weekly News a decade ago. People really like it, right? Not only here on Discord and new emails of SGIware and PS3, but yeah, also all the stuff we were already thinking to do a decade ago for the future. Of course, a lot of stuff still not done. Probably Minix GNU we will never do. Maybe Haiku, I said this before. Some of this stuff, it's like, yeah, but also a decade later, finally putting more time where my mouth is, because even here, I mentioned already in this press stuff, microkernel. So especially interested in having microkernel to run. T2 is like a decade later and stuff. But anyway, it's coming now finally, and people really liked it also, right? I just rediscovered this here from 2010. They have found their RMason or they have found installation process from CD or USB stick to be completely painless and rapid. All systems have installed using ISO have booted without any problems, and it's like, yeah. Happy you enjoy it. I hope you do too. Give it a try on your virtual machine. The published ISO is highly optimized because I thought, let's beat Intel's Clear Linux. But I figured the first people already is like, yeah, it doesn't boot because AVX2, I optimized this for Intel Haswell and later CPUs. I'm just rebuilding that. This was a little bit too much. People always like optimize, and then you optimize and it's like, it doesn't boot for me anymore. It's like, yeah, this is why previous videos, just in time compiling your whole distribution, applications, libraries, and maybe even kernel would be amazing. Previous video, probably have to work on that too, because that is exactly that, right? You make use of the latest and greatest Intel single instruction multiple data stuff like AVX2, not even to mention AVX512, and then it's like, yeah, it doesn't boot and illegal instruction for people. So I dial this back to just Sandy Bridge or whatever that was here of, oops, it is also not what I wanted. I wanted, also this is the wrong one, probably somewhere here of how much can you build. Now also not that, you see, a little bit busy building, but config x86, so this is like AVX, not AVX2, but only AVX, so that also supports, or should actually, I will test, but should be AMD Jaguar and up. So that is, yeah, Sandy Bridge. So I'm just using this Intel stuff because if we use the AMD equivalent, there could be more of FMA fused multiplant at FMA whatever stuff or other stuff that Intel doesn't have. So this is why I use the Intel, not because Intel is better, just to hopefully have a little bit better compatibility with all the aging Intel systems out there. But anyway, that is a little bit of a summary, backstory behind the scene. I hope you like this. Scotty inspired me to try it again on the Power Excel. So hey, Scotty has a Power Excel 8i and P3. So yeah, Power Excel, previous video I got one myself. a PCIe card, still need to get that to boot. What do we have here? I posted that. PD4 set got their hands on a dual CPU G5 trying to install T2. Yeah, good luck. We will test this also. And by the way, there's still, you see, I have here also priorities. So KDE and GNOME, I said this before, KDE, GNOME and other stuff, not my priority, not a fan of the code base, usability of code base and code quality and C and stuff. So I will certainly for another decade or the rest of my life keep this updated, although no commercial promises, your mileage may vary and you probably want to support in Patreon and stuff, which you can, also this was wrong, because this takes a little bit of time, right? Patreon here. That would be also really amazing. We have already 42 patrons contributing that, and also I mailed this to Foronix. Let's see if they pick this up. Yeah, G5. I will test this on the G4. As I said, this time I will still this time one last time test this more, just for all the changes. But after that, 2021 releases community testing outsourced there. I will release those images when they were tested. And SGI images, yes, so this image will be bootable, so I will test this. I tested this when I did this some months ago. Fun fact, a lot of stuff, of all the stuff I do, a lot of stuff I've not even done YouTube videos because too much and time and stuff. And also ambition, right? I had the ambition because actually this was revision 50,000. I asked, sometimes I have ideas and simply no time. I ask on the community tab there on YouTube, revision 50,000 because we're already at freaking 50,806. But for 50,000 I asked, should it be something special? And some people said yes. So for revision 50,000, which was already in July, as you see here, July the 8th, proof of concept MIPS 64 IP30 SG Octane bootable ISO support. It took me quite some afternoons actually to get fully working. And actually I wanted, because I found this was so special, I actually had the ambitions in the summer to make a dedicated video, but I simply have no time, right? All the time, not only running a company and doing code here, also doing all this open source code and trying this YouTube format entertainment thing here. It's like, yeah, I wanted 50,000 T2 revision 50,000 special edition bootable SGI Octane stuff. It's like, yeah, it's there, it's working. It's like I simply didn't have time to properly video graph that, but yeah, so much to that, time and money and ambitions, but stuff. So yeah, the only thing is, and then we call this live stream a day, 30 minutes is certainly enough. What I really don't like with Linux is that it's a little bit really old-fashionedly coded, and so that on Spark for U, I think it is, Sun for U and Sun for V, for classic UltraSpark and virtual T1 Niagara and up, you need dedicated kernels. And with my microkernel stuff, I shared this pipe dreams here before, I would have a HAL and a hardware abstraction layer and some very thin things so that you would have some platform specific stuff there. And because the thing is that for MIPS you need like 5 kernels or 6 or 7, that is really annoying. So this release will only be bootable on IP30 SG Octane because you need to recompile the Linux kernel for O2 and Origin 200. So IP27, IP30, IP32, which is Origin 200, SGI Octane and SGI O2, they all need a different kernel. So if we wanted to support this, we would need to rebuild the Linux kernel 3 times for one ISO and have the special bootloader glue and configuration stuff. A little bit annoying. Again, with my microkernel we would have, and yeah, you want to share, like, and subscribe. I hope before I can do this the next years before I retire and become a pensioner in decades to come with my microkernel. So yeah, because I would like a very tiny, like 100K hardware abstraction layer thing, bootloader binding kind of runtime binding executable, and have the microkernel, like MIPS microkernel, like one for all and only some hardware abstraction stuff of interrupts and stuff in some HAL. I think this would be much better architecture, and not having to recompile all your freaking drivers in Linux kernel for IP27, IP30, IP32 and everything left and right before and after and in between and other MIPS architectures. But yeah, just some background information that is, in my opinion, and this is also the people, a lot of the internet is full of wrong information, a lot of fanboys, just like NVIDIA and MIPS and PowerPC fanboys. They don't know the architectures, they don't know the previous video instructions and architecture. And 90% of the information in the internet actually, unfortunately, a lot of fake news and fake information that is really annoying, and people also don't understand this. And when I say then some stuff, even although that I'm now very much in bits and bytes and low-level hardware details what I'm talking about, and then still people coming out here in those comments and spread some hearsay and wrong stuff. It's like, anyway. So some last comments. Will the new install ISO boot from Petit Boot on the PlayStation 3? Yes, the previous already did. However, that is a good point. I will probably manually, because the latest Linux kernel, previous videos, latest Linux kernel has regressions. It's like, yeah, recurring theme, why previous video, why I'm really done with Linux and want my microkernel. Because after all this work, you see, I put here so many hours of months. This is not 40 hours. It's in the meantime already hundreds of hours I put into the P3 stuff, and then Linus Torvalds and the amazing stable release maintaining people there break stuff. The latest Linux kernel has some oopses on booting, some interrupt stuff and whatnot, and also on shutdown. So also Ethernet doesn't work anymore. And on shutdown, it even oopses again on Ethernet, and then probably doesn't reboot even. So I will probably custom rebuild. So all the ISOs I will boot and publish, and then most likely I will custom rebuild of manually tweak the PowerPC 64 ISO to build with the last known good 5.8. kernel, the last one that worked on the P3. That is super annoying and time wasting and disappointing stuff, which recurring theme here, it's like, yeah. Anyway, and also why I do this, because if I write this on Phoronix in some comments and people don't believe me and don't care, and this is also why I started this YouTube stuff of spreading more hard facts and low-level information and not some randoms like, yeah, YOLO, whatever, nobody knows really what's going on, but needs to comment their 2 cents of random shit. Anyway, Stanley asked, what do you think about core boot of Ryzen? Yeah, more open source hardware, low level code is always good, so the more the better. And no, right, the newest one ISO will not work in QEMU, probably because instruction not supported QEMU TCG sync minimum ISO. You need, if you run TCG with QEMU, you just probably can specify CPU, Haswell or stuff, so that should work. It's tested in QEMU, the latest ISO does boot. Hey, now some drop frames. So CD, VM, EFI, QEMU stuff of probably, oops. Boot D. So did I? Yes, also some CPU ID of, because I say Haswell, but we have AMD Ryzen. Obviously, I'm not running old Intel crap here. So this is the ISO, and this fully boots. Also for BIOS bin. So even the EFI one is tested. So EFI and MBR, GPT, MBR BIOS thing. So this is x86 tested and working in QEMU on Ryzen 3950X with this Haswell and stuff. But again, I rebuilt this. I think this is a summary. Also just wanted to mostly spread off, like, yeah, just release it, but also imagine you release it and nobody knows that it's released. It's like, yeah, this is what the surrounding stuff is. I slightly wonder why Why don't we see this? Do they only anyway? So yeah, if you don't know how to code and want to do me a favor and contribute, then it would be amazing if you spread this news here, either from Reddit or here from ZT2 2010. And more ISOs coming, probably later today and tomorrow and stuff. And anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you learned something, and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And also there's this membership and Patreon stuff if you think these are amazing things that you want to support. And with that, have fun playing along at home, and I hope to see you soon for all next videos and live streams to come.